So this is always a great discussion panel that we've done the last 2 years, 3 years now. And so we'll start off just by kind of introducing everybody. I didn't introduce myself. I'm Amber Malcolm. I'm a nurse practitioner, and I see a lot of familiar faces within the Miller Lab, as well as all of our attendees through research and being patients here and everything else. So we'll go ahead and get started. So maybe we won't. There we go. Oh, that's okay. Okay, so our first introduction is going to be to the group in the middle, Jennifer and Eric. And if you have your introduction ready to go, I'll have you go ahead and talk about yourself, or I can read about you as well.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Robb. I was diagnosed in 2024 at the age of 56. I am sporadic limb onset. I spend my time advocating for ALS. I am a volunteer with I Am ALS on several committees. I also spend time on Facebook ALS groups answering questions for those newly diagnosed. This is my first time using eye gaze in a presentation. Thank you in advance for your patience as I learn. I am using a Smartbox grid system in an app called Notes for presentation.
Great. And then Eric, do you have anything?
And my name's Eric. I'm her husband, and very proud of her and the accomplishments she's done with her advocacy work for ALS. And we've gone through a 3-year journey together. A lot of adaptations and a lot of things that we've had to do to our house, and being a retired teacher, shop teacher, has helped a lot with that. I've been able to do a lot of that things that other people couldn't probably. So.
Great. All right. And then Tom, are you ready to do your introduction, or you want me to talk about you, or? Okay. Well, this is Tom, and his wife Debbie was diagnosed in 2022 at the age of 58. She passed away at the end of 2024, and Tom says he's here to learn today, contribute to the panel as a caregiver, and
she passed away at the end of 24. I think we participated in the Healy trial, a couple of them maybe there for a little while, and buzzed back and forth. We live about 2.5 hours east of here, so we made a few road trips.
Yep. All right. And then next, Denny and Kim.
Hi, I'm Denny Vance. I was diagnosed with ALS in 2023. It's been slow progressing. I've been on a medication, a clinical trial, perdopidine, and it has been stable the last year, or a little over a year. So that's pretty much it.
And I'm Kim, his wife. We have 3 daughters. Our youngest just graduated, so they've kept us very busy, and we try to stay very active in their lives, and 2 grandchildren. And his motto is to just stay as active as he can. Thank you.
All right, and then next we have John and Randy.
Hi, I'm John, and I was identified as C9 in 2020, and I've been in all the studies, and I think it's important, and I don't know about my children or grandchildren yet if they're carrying this, but that's something that they'll cross when the time is right. And it's been hard, to know that, but we've done a lot of things to prep for that.
And I'm Randy, John's wife, and yes, we made the decision together to test for the genetic mutation about 5 years ago. And when we found out that John does have the gene, we become pretty active. I've become more active in the FTD world, frontal temporal degeneration, which C9 can cause as well as ALS. And we can kind of talk a little bit more about that as we go on. But yeah, so we're a little bit different because we are kind of in that
Pre-diagnosis.
yeah, pre-diagnosis.
All right. And then, so for the first part of the panel, just if everybody could start with kind of what you knew about ALS before you either were diagnosed or had a direct connection. And yeah, go ahead, Tom.
Very little, honestly. After we were diagnosed, of course, you start looking for information everywhere you can. And Washington U had a lot. They helped us a great deal, especially every visit. We had a list of questions, and they get them answered one way or the other.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, my mom was not diagnosed, but she thought about it, and she was in a study at Wash U 25 years ago. But then when my cousin had it in 1999, excuse me, 19, that was when I found out I had several cousins who had passed from it. And it's the older generation that we didn't really know what they had. Diagnosis wasn't there, but you know, now it's prevalent. And I'm probably, if you go back, my grandma, my mom, all those on that side probably had it. But yeah, it's a lot of research now and a lot of good data that's out there now, and that's encouraging.
And then, if you guys have any, yeah, just make sure you're holding the mic close.
I would just say prior to her diagnosis, I think neither of us knew a whole lot about ALS. Just we knew about Lou Gehrig's disease, and it's just kind of been a learn as we go and adapt as we go, and it's a lot of challenges, and we accomplish and do a lot together, and that's rewarding. And we just try and make life as easy as possible as we can by coming up with different adaptions and things to help her out. So.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about ALS other than Lou Gehrig's, like he just said. But since then, I had a sister diagnosed with dementia. She's a year older than me. I have another first cousin that's diagnosed with dementia, and another cousin with ALS. And I've also lost a good friend, a childhood friend that passed away from ALS a couple years ago. Prior to that, I didn't know anything about it.
And I knew of ALS, but that was about it.
And so the next question is sort of, what advice do you have for anybody who's newly diagnosed? Or I think another way to interpret that would be kind of, what do you wish you would have known or someone would have told you early on and kind of learning about this?
Probably two big things, compassion and patience. You need to have lots and lots of both.
I'll go first. I guess my advice, obviously we have not been diagnosed, but we are dealing with the knowledge of potential future and for children and grandchildren. So I find that the more knowledge you have, the more information you have, the more active you can be. I was talking to a friend yesterday about turning pain into purpose. So I think advocacy or being active in studies is something that we found when we understood John's situation. We immediately said, what can we do? And there's so much out of our control that we thought in being involved at the time. It was a DIAL study and then all ALS, and then that turned into us getting involved in all FTD study, and really any study that anybody, if we hear the word study, we're like, yes, yes. So for us, that's been really helpful, and just learning more about the research. And we're in a such a great situation now, just hearing all of these things today that probably 15 years ago we wouldn't have heard. So That's been very helpful for us.
I think also, when I was identified, it was important to think, they always say, live today like, tomorrow's not going to be here, but I think that really has a new meaning. Nobody's guaranteed tomorrow. And so, we were fortunate that we could retire early. We could travel, we could do things, spend time with our loved ones. There was a big joke, we have grandchildren, and my wife said, I'm going to be a snow day grandma. We don't want those kids we have our grandkids 2 days a week.
I'd say just living in the moment, doing the things you enjoy. We were fortunate enough to be able to sell a house that wasn't accessible in St. Louis and move to Kansas City to be near our daughter who has a medical background and is able to help us out a lot. And with the sale of our St. Louis house, we were also able to buy both of our children, our daughter and our son, a starter home, which was her wish, and that's been really nice for her to see that come to fruition. Also, my advice would be just stay ahead of the disease. Be ready for what's next, because what worked last week might not work this week. We've noticed that a lot. She has a fast progressing ALS, so you just have to have the equipment ready, be ready to go, and be ready to adapt.
I would say my suggestion or recommendation is to stay active, try and stay busy, don't let it get you down, and try to do everything you can. I know there's some physical difficulties at times that when I first was diagnosed, I got down on myself, with the family, but I overcame that and tried to stay and do as much as I could, as much as I can. We have a place at Lake the Ozarks. We spend a lot of time there, a lot of time in the pool, and just living life. We're trying to travel as much as we can. So.
All right, it's good advice all around for sure. I guess, does anybody have any ways that they found support after diagnosis that they want to talk about? I don't know, Jennifer, maybe if you want to start.
I'll talk just really briefly. Again, I'm coming a little bit from the FTD world, but there is a lot of crossover between FTD and ALS, and we're at risk for both. And there is a website for theaftd.org, which has a lot of information, and even if you're not diagnosed with the FTD, there's a lot of information about caregiving, about support. There's support groups out there. And one thing I do just kind of want to plug, and maybe this is a good time, but we're really trying to build our FTD disorders registry, and it is so helpful for drug companies to know that there's a group out there of people who are willing to be in drug trials and things like that. You do not have to have FTD, you need to be interested in it. And so if you go to ftdregistry.com or .org, or did I wrote it down? .org, sorry. You can sign up for that, and just to be aware, because again, these diseases, especially if you have C9, it's, they're very much tied together. So, and just talking to friends for us, we just, we're not shy about our situation. We talk to anybody who wants to hear about it. Awareness is half of the battle, because I think in these rare diseases, we really need people to understand that they're out here and that we need funding, and funding is what goes into research, what goes into therapies. We all know the drill. So we talk about it. For us, that's been really helpful, I think, an open discussion with our families and our friends.
Great. Go ahead, Jennifer.
I find support and information in support groups, and especially the many groups on Facebook. Facebook groups have been my biggest source of information and support. Facebook has groups for about every subgroup. I belong to a group just for women, a group for both pals and caregivers, a Midwest group, equipment groups, and more. I really like the Les Turner Foundation webinars that you can search by topic online. I read about trials and their results online. I search out ALS so much that my algorithm gives me more information than I can keep up with.
We really lean into the ALS clinic. They have been awesome. Without them, I'm not sure where we would be today. And then as far as friends, Monique hit on it in her discussion. We found friends that we don't see as often. They don't call as much. He feels better talking about it, so he talks about it to almost everybody that'll listen to him. And we have those friends that lean in. So I do have a list on my phone of my village that I'm building for when I need it. And I think that's going to be a very important piece of this.
That's great advice and really important. To build community, I did listen to Monique's talk, and then I looked ahead to Dr. Guccelli's talk as well. I think community and bringing us all here and you know, having that group of people is really important as we deal with this. Does anybody want to speak to how participation in research impacted sort of your journey with dealing with ALS or with knowing your gene status? Okay. Go ahead, Jennifer.
ALS is so different in each person that I can't say that one research is more important than the other. I am very interested for the results of the tofersen trial on non-SOD1 people living with ALS, PALS. Clean plans on presenting the results of their large group trial to the FDA. Let's hope the third try is it. Any research that buys us time and function is worthwhile. There are so many drugs and therapies in the pipeline that give all of us hope.
Go ahead, Debbie.
I have tried to participate in any and all programs they've asked me. One of the latest ones is Digitize ALS, where I wear a device on my dominant arm and leg. But I just feel better about trying to get involved and helping. If it's not me, it's someone down the road as far as this disease. I just feel like, you know, if I can help out in any way by participating, I'll, you know, benefit somebody else.
Yeah, I think that, you know, participation in research is the only way we're going to find something. If we don't have participants, you know, I don't think Dr. Miller has a program. But it's, and I think it's right, I'm hopeful for me, I'm hopeful for my kids, I'm hopeful for my grandkids. You know, someplace we got to find something.
That's great, and I think us on the other side, it's really important to us to, you know, be able to directly work on, you know, things that may be helpful for the future as well. And then what role do you think that patients and caregivers should have in shaping like ALS research priorities and initiatives? Again, I know a lot of you have already talked about some of the groups that you're a part of and what you're kind of working with them now, but if anybody has any sort of, you know, specific thoughts on that topic that we haven't already touched on, kind of have. No? Okay. Oh, go ahead, Jennifer. I can keep talking.
We just feel that participation is crucial, and it's very important, and that anything we can do to help in being an advocate for ALS is very important.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think we agree, and I think that all people who are dealing with ALS should have insight and have input into what research is, what the next phase of research could be. I mean, obviously not all the science and protein and mRNA and all that, but I think like what people are dealing with on a daily basis and what things would make their lives better is something that's, you know, their lived experience should always be brought into any kind of consideration about future therapies and then going backwards to research. So certainly the science and the medical part is the most important part, but also things just to make life easier and more joyful and things like that are things that are priorities to people living with this.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I will say a lot of the research programs that we work with, both the interventional trials as well as the observational trials, often have a patient advocacy board that's part of what they're doing. And I will say a lot of Dr. Miller as well as others, the other scientists spend a lot of time, you know, actually talking with patients and, you know, getting their input on that. And so it's definitely really important and recognized. And I think, Jennifer, you may have answered this question already as far as what research, you know, do you think will have a significant impact on lives? And I think we kind of already talked about that. We kind of got ahead of ourselves a little bit there, but I don't know if anybody has anything else to add as far as that. I think one of the ways that over my 10 years of working in this field, things have evolved is we kind of mostly had the ALS functional rating scale, which everybody in this room is probably familiar with. And I think one of the movements that not only our group internally, but across the board have kind of looked at is looking at more patient satisfaction and patient quality of life measurements. It also involved in a lot of these treatment trials to kind of, again, try to find any of those signals that we can. And it's really been great to see that evolution. All right. Does anybody have any thoughts on any specific sort of research areas or topics that you think deserve more attention or more funding? Or anything else, kind of maybe any barriers to your own participation in research or your, you know, ability to get to clinic or anything like that we want to touch on, maybe? And Jennifer, I didn't give you enough of a heads up to this additional question I just asked, so I can keep talking for a moment while you come up with an answer.
Well, I can just talk for a second.
Absolutely.
I just know, we've talked about this a lot, that, you know, 15 years ago, you know, we can always speak to C9 because that's our lived experience, but we didn't even know that C9 existed or what it was. So who knows what's out there now, you know, for the 90% of the people who have sporadic ALS, there may be a gene underlying, and I'm sure, again, you guys are all much smarter than I am about this. No, the things we heard today for me were just fascinating, and you're so far ahead of anything I would expect. But I would imagine, to me, the genetic part is just such an interesting and important piece because I can't remember, somebody was speaking about going backwards before, I think it was Ravi, before people actually start showing symptoms. Obviously, if you know you have a genetic disposition, anything we can do to keep that, you know, at bay or stop it, to me that's highly critical.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, go ahead, Danny.
I would like to see more genetic testing for family members. I know there was a study, I think, in the paperwork that we got today, but I have family that has been, must be some gene that they don't know about that's causing the problems with dementia. Has been very prevalent in my family on my father's side. So I would like to know a little bit more about, for my daughter and other siblings, if, they're going to have the same issues down the road.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, and especially, for people who do have a familial link with this disease but haven't had an identified gene. We, on the research end, we definitely think those are the places where we're most likely to find those links over time, and certainly your participation and anybody else in your family who's able to participate is going to help figure that out, of what that might be. Okay.
We travel here from Kansas City to St. Louis for the
Get the mic.
Dropidine trial.
Bring that
And,
mic a little closer.
It's been very well worth it. I mean, I don't know if she would be here right now if it wasn't for the Prodopidine trial, and it's really helped with her breathing, so respiration. So very important, and we support any kind of research that is helpful to the cause of ALS. So, I kind of would wish we could see more access to the trials, probably because now she's far along in her progression, and there's a lot of trials she can't participate in. I'd like to see that opened up to more people who are farther progressed in their disease. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there's definitely a large community of people that want to see more access to expanded access medications that might be helpful. But yeah, a lot of people dealing with ALS don't fit into the category that's going to qualify for those initial trials, unfortunately, in a way that researchers want to try to find the best patients, not the best, the most specific patients that might have a response, because we unfortunately don't have the unlimited resources that we want. We welcome them if anybody has them. But it is a really extremely frustrating place to be, that there may be a drug out there that may be helpful, but there isn't access to it. And so there's definitely a lot of people working on that, and we appreciate hearing about that for sure. And the next question we kind of already touched on, but I don't know if anybody has any other new thoughts of sort of any of the ALS research or anything else, any of the programs that maybe you saw today or know about from the past that you have more interest in or think we need to be talking about more. I will say maybe one topic which may come up later, and it's never a good time to talk about this, but it is our postmortem program that's come up already today that Dr. Lee here with our unit, our group runs, but it is a program where people dealing with ALS can participate and donate tissue after they pass away, and then it is also a program that we need people who don't have ALS to compare those tissues to. So I think that's one thing that Randy and I talked about earlier. And again, there's never a good time to talk about that, but it's a really important program that we deal with. I don't know if anybody else has anything else that they want to mention about that.
Well, I was just going to say again, kind of back to the awareness and advocacy. I think that whether you're impacted by this disease, I mean, everybody that's here obviously is impacted, but that's another reason that we talk to as many people as possible. We advocate anywhere we possibly can. So I think that, like for the postmortem kind of stuff that we were talking about earlier, that there's a lot of things that people can do who are not directly impacted by this disease. And when your friends say, "What can I do?" I would say, talk to your Congress people, talk to the people who actually do the funding, when they're talking about decreasing the grants through the NIH, that impacts us. That impacts people you care about. So tell people who have the ability to make some of those decisions that you're impacting people you care about. The lived stories are so important. So I know that's not really the question about research programs, but I just think that the more we talk about it and the more we get other people aware of it, and I think a lot of people do know about ALS through Lou Gehrig's, but they may not really have ever met anybody who has it or who's impacted by it. So again, just kind of bringing that up. And then as far as just specific research programs, I think I might speak for us, and maybe everybody in the room, anything that slows it down, stops it, reverses it. I mean, that's why this tofersen, I think everyone's just jumping up and down about it, because there's been some actual activity in that direction. So obviously those are the things that we all care about.
Yeah. And I think one point that you kind of mentioned that I hear a lot from many people in this room and online is, so ALS is a rare disease until it's not. And then when you start talking about it, there's, everybody kind of has a connection to it, unfortunately. And so it's just, a really important point that you made. Yes, Jenna. Oh.
My wife's focus really is on just seeing a cure eventually as a donor of many vials of blood, and she's very interested in post-mortem donations that might help the research and ongoing possible cures for the disease.
That's great. And I may have made you all talk and answer too many questions already, but I don't know if anybody has any other sort of thoughts or comments, or Jesse, I don't know if there's any questions for this group that came up online or not. But I, welcome any other comments that anybody has. I am going to give some time back to the group, so that's great. But I just want to say thank you so much to the panelists. I know it's not easy to get up here and be in front of this room, again, after Monique's TED Talk, especially a little more difficult of a task, but I appreciate you all traveling here and coming to be in front of this group and share your perspectives. And thanks a lot to the attendees, because again, we know it's not easy to get here on a Saturday morning, bright and early, but we really, really appreciate it. All right, so.